Scooby-Doo. It should be going live to the right channel. Please. Okay, good. Yeah, we're live. Yeah, we're live.
Why are you playing Rayman 3 again?
Because I felt like it.
Imagine playing games again for fun. What? This is a foreign concept to me.
Oh, and also because this game is like way shorter than Banjo, so yeah.
Okay, good evening everyone, and happy Mother's Day to those who celebrate. My name is ScrappyFan92, and this is another episode of Storytime with Scrappy and Friends. With me today are Harry, Raideran. Thank you, thanks. With me today are Harry, Raideran, and the Ultimate returning for the second appearance, I think. You were in the last episode, right?
Time.
Okay. I can't remember breakfast some days. And returning after an absence is Nova. Thank you and welcome back.
Don't get used to it.
That sounded scary. What the fuck?
Nova out to spook ya.
Every time we conversate, it sounds like a threat is being made.
That sounded like a threat.
It's for me to know, you to find out.
He's gonna kill all of us. He's gonna kill
Good to have you.
Threatening
buddy.
tone makes
Good
it
to have
funnier.
you.
Tone makes it funnier. Tone makes it funnier.
For what I believe is our 95th episode. Yes, 95 episodes.
Unless
and
I miscounted, Jess.
we are as surprised as you are, folks. For our 95th episode, we are doing something just... I can't even say weirder than normal. It's a lot to explain.
Because what is normal?
You're right.
We finished the Flintstones Rocky Generations, or the chapters that have been published anyways, and we're moving on to something new, but it's also older than Rocky Generations.
Is this finished though, may I ask?
That's a good
Yes,
question.
it's finished. It's
Oh.
finished.
Okay.
Finally,
finished.
no cliffhangers.
I know, right?
Yeah, you should know all about this. Yeah, you should know all about finishing stories, don't you, Scrappy?
I mean, I finished one of my story arcs, you just weren't there for it. Like, I've been writing, I wrote as recently as this year, actually.
You did.
Yeah, more than I can say.
Oh gosh, okay, so today's episode will cover a story done because A, nostalgia, and B, what's the word? Brand synergy.
It gets those clicks.
Yeah.
Yes. Since there's apparently a Little Mermaid remake happening in a few weeks, I, as a fan and not a paid fan of the Walt Disney Company, which is celebrating its 100th birthday this year, have invited all of you to read a story about the Little Mermaid. But there's a twist.
It's the Little Mermaid, but also isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, frankly, explain this would probably... I'm not even sure. I don't even think I can coherently explain this in less than 10 minutes. It is a story based on Disney's The Little Mermaid, as interpreted by the cast of Power Rangers Mystic Force.
Oh, it's specifics, my favorite.
Alright, I got messages in Discord explaining some of this. May as well read through it. I think you all know what The Little Mermaid is at this point.
Right, I haven't seen it in years, but yeah.
I've never watched it.
Oh, wow.
No.
Long story short, Mermaid wants to be human, is curious about the human world, and makes deal with Sea Witch.
I mean, yeah, I know what it's about. I've just never watched it.
It's good, and watch it. So, alright, to explain the other half of this story. Power Rangers Mystic Force is the 14th season of the Power Rangers franchise, running for 32... Yes?
I was just gonna say that for me, that's the series that I haven't watched.
is the 14th season of the Power Rangers franchise, running for 32 episodes in 2006. Adapted from the 2005 to 2006 Japanese series Maho Sentai Magi Ranger, Mystic Force chronicled the exploits of 5 young people in the fictional Briarwood, a town on the border of the human world and the magical world. With the guidance of a benevolent...
Tokyo.
Sure, why not?
So this actually is a Toho story in disguise. Got it.
With the guidance of a
God.
benevolent... With the guidance of a benevolent sorceress, the 5 become Power Rangers who specialize in spell codes and the elements of nature. So, it's a Little Mermaid, but with Mystic Force characters in place of the Disney characters.
And this one I actually have watched.
So basically, ladies and gentlemen, to put it in layman's terms, think of the Family Guy Star Wars episodes.
Effectively.
I've never actually seen those either.
Yeah,
Well, it's exactly what you think. Exactly what you think it is. Don't worry.
Yeah, I can imagine as much.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Anyway, I should inform everyone involved who has not read the story, written by Princess Belle Prince Adam. Yeah, this is a pretty straight adaptation of The Little Mermaid. There is no morphing, no Megazords. Just, I need to make that clear. This is focusing on the human side of the Power Rangers.
And it really makes me ask, why?
I know, right?
I mean, that's fan fiction in a nutshell. Like, why?
We're really getting to some DeviantArt territory with this.
Look, if I can write a story where Bowser Jr. just suddenly decides to turn a new leaf and join Mario and crew, then Princess Belle Prince Adam can do this.
You made Bowser's Fury?
Yes, like 12 years before it actually came out.
Oh god.
Why do you think my avatar is Cat Mario? It's all connected.
Sounds like Nintendo hired this man.
I wish. So,
Oh god.
yeah, that's... So, the Power Rangers characters just exist basically to be stand-ins for the Little Mermaid characters. Like, I feel like you'll know what they are, like, you'll know what niche they fill if you're familiar with Little Mermaid. Like, every ranger from Mystic Force appears in this, as do most of their allies.
So essentially, what we're trying to find in terms of entertainment is, like, does this person just do the movie beat for beat, or do they actually fuck up some things?
It's not one-to-one. It's faithful, but it's not one-to-one. There's gonna be some deviations, mostly in the latter half.
So it's an Undertale AU.
It's a what?
Undertale AU.
It's an Undertale AU where they replace the characters with other series, you know, like Undertoad.
Nice.
Undertoad sounds like the name of a character in, like, the cartoon Underdog.
It's the Mario Undertale thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Is it a fan fiction? Can we read it?
Well, it is a webcomic. We could technically read it. Yes.
I'll keep it in mind.
I wonder how a webcomic would work on this show.
I don't think it would. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, you would just have to screen record or like
Yeah.
edit it and post.
Editing? What's that?
That sounds like effort.
So, oh my god, about 9 minutes in, I guess we'll just get right into it. It's gonna probably be a short session today, as has been the case for like the last 4 episodes, I think.
Definitely the last few.
Yeah, I got residual trauma from the Christmas episodes, okay?
Yeah, that was like three hours long.
So yeah, we're... Like, I'm, of course, reprising my role as a narrator, and as per usual, we're splitting a bunch of roles among just a few people. I guess we'll get into it. Is everyone ready?
May I have the link to this literature?
Work of art.
It's in the planning channel.
There it is.
Scrappy spoilered it.
I don't. Oh, story time planning, not just planning.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I forgot the yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't realize.
Yeah, I forgot there's two planning charts.
There's three
Three.
plan.
3? Wait, hold on.
Planning, comms planning, and story time planning.
Oh, right.
Yeah, my show gets its own thing. It's special.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think
We're
So-
ready.
just for some, what do I say? So, okay, this story. Before we begin, I want to clarify. I have actually read this story, start to finish, and I've reread the first 9 chapters as of like last week. So, half of it's been vetted.
Dear God, there's 19.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
but look at the first chapter.
Again,
Yeah, true.
these chapters are short. Like, thank goodness. But the story moves like the story is quite breezy. It was published October 8th, 2008, and was finished April 25th, 2010. Like, it's been done for over a decade. It's
this is
solidified. Like, this story is so old, Disney actually owned Power Rangers back then.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm more excited for this now because now that I know that's an old fic.
It's ancient.
It says here that their most recent thing happened in 2015.
Dang.
I'll just read the pardon me, I'll just read the summary quickly. Mystic Force AU. Madison is a mermaid, forbidden to walk on land. When Madison falls in love, she makes a deal with the sea witch, Necroli. She is given legs in exchange for her voice, but how will she get through to the man she loves? And the pairing here is Madison, the blue Mystic Ranger, with Nick, the red Mystic Ranger. And the story about the Little Mermaid is called The Little Mermaid. We begin in 3, 2, 1. Oh, also, this is adapted a Disney movie, but there are no musical numbers. Just want to make that clear.
Yeah, honestly, thank God I don't want to be singing.
I know, Anna sounds so upset. I'm sorry.
No, I'm having PTSD flashbacks to Kingdom Hearts 2.
Well, look, you don't have to. We're not singing, but we can still have some finny fun. Like, this is.
I want the Orichalco Pulaski, please! I don't want this anymore!
You're in. You're stuck here with me.
Alright, I'm ready.
This is The Little Mermaid by Princess Belle, Prince Adam. Once upon a time, in the underwater kingdom of Atlantis, there lived a little mermaid. She was known as Princess Madison, the daughter of King Daggeron. Madison was a shy mermaid. She was most comfortable thinking rather than talking, though she did love to sing, just to herself. Madison was very close with her sister Vita, and with another of the mer people, a merman by the name of Chip. Chip had been the princess's best friend since they were children, and Madison had shared many happy times with her sister and their friend. Vita was rebellious, and Chip often joined in on the Pink Mermaid's quests. Madison usually tagged along with the Pink and Yellow Mermaids, and the three shared many adventures exploring their ocean. Daggeron and Vita were always at odds, while the serene Madison often acted as mediator. There was only one rule Madison broke that Vita did not. The Blue Mermaid loved to go to the ocean's surface. Humans were dangerous, King Daggeron often told his young daughters. Humans had killed the Mermaid Queen, and and so the young girls were forbidden to go near those who walked on land. Vita obeyed this rule with no arguments, and assumed that her sister did as well. Madison couldn't see what was wrong with the humans. Mother's death had been an accident, and though the Blue Princess missed her mother, she did not blame an entire race for one's mistake. She loved to sit on a large rock, not far from the sand. She loved to sit on a large rock not far from the sandy shore and watch the humans frolic. They weren't all bad, Madison knew. He had a secret human friend named Xander. He had been the only person to ever see Madison sitting on her rock, and he had known what she was by seeing her light blue tail. He had promised he would not harm her, and they had been friends ever since. Xander was sweet and helpful. Madison often brought him the strange human items she and her sister and Chip found from shipwrecks, and he would explain to her how they worked. The more Xander told the Blue Princess about how the humans functioned, the more Madison ached to walk on land for herself. It didn't seem like much to ask for, broadening her horizons. After all, one day she and Vita would be in charge of the kingdom, and shouldn't she learn to form her own opinions? Madison would love to discuss this view of her father, but King Daggeron was a stubborn man. No matter how calmly and maturely his youngest daughter approached him, he would anger quickly if humans were involved. On the princess's 16th birthday, the entire kingdom was to attend a formal presentation of their future queens. There would be a large celebration after, and it had been in the planning stages for months. Toby, the king's advisor, had been meticulous as he arranged the details.
It is very important that you girls be on time tomorrow.
King Daggeron had told his daughters before he bade them goodnight. Fate had other plans. So ends chapter 1.
So far, pretty normal.
Yeah.
Alright, this is chapter 2. Madison felt her heart rise as she reached the surface of the ocean. She was here, close to the humans she loved so much. She swam over to the rock to look for Xander. The Blue Princess had only been waiting for her secret friend for a few minutes when she spotted him walking on the shore.
Hello, Xander.
The raven-haired mermaid greeted the green-clad man as she moved swiftly through the water towards her human friend.
Happy birthday, Madison.
He replied, smiling in his cheerful way.
Anything I can explain for you today?
Xander continued his gaze on a small bag Madison had slung over her shoulder.
Oh, yes.
Madison answered, opening the purse. She reached inside and pulled out a small silver object. Xander smiled.
That's a fork. We use it to eat.
Madison nodded in understanding, absent-mindedly tracing its foreign shape. She looked away, and off in the distance, the Blue Princess saw a fine-looking ship. Something on board was covered with a large sheet. Xander followed Madison's gaze.
It's for the prince.
The prince?
Madison asked, puzzled. She had never heard her friend mention royalty before.
What is it?
It's his birthday as well. The king and queen have had a statue made of him in celebration.
Xander put his hand inside his coat and examined a small golden object.
You must excuse me. I am due in the princess party.
The Blue Mermaid smiled.
It was nice to see you, Xander. Thank you for explaining. I have to go now. If I am late, my father will be furious.
With a quick wave, the princess dove into the waters towards her home. Daggeron was growing impatient. His younger daughter had not been seen today, and though he was concerned for her well-being, he was more anxious to know if she would be at the ceremony on time. Daggeron had never had a problem with Madison's reliability before. What could she be doing? The Mermaid King knew Vita often dragged Madison along on the expeditions to shipwrecks, but Vita was here at the palace. She had dined with him this morning, while Madison had not.
Wait, whose line is it?
Yours.
Oh yeah, I didn't say the name. Sorry. See. Father, Madison is nervous. She has probably gotten to clear her head before the ceremony. I know my sister. She will not let us down.
Vita said calmly. Daggeron blinked and turned to look at his eldest daughter. He was not used to hearing Vita as the voice of reason. Daggeron readjusted his hold on the Triton. Vita saw that her father's version of a scepter was starting to glow with his anger, and realized he was probably close to destroying something. Though the king was a great warrior, skilled in the ways of their people, he had to work hard to keep his temper under control. The rebellious pink mermaid rolled her eyes before taking the Triton away from her father.
I'll go look for our sister.
Vita said.
You should sit down. There's still an hour before the ceremony is due to start. We'll be here.
She gave him a stern look, and then gave him the Triton before heading off to look for Madison.
Should have read that better.
Madison was swimming towards it. Pardon?
I'm sorry, it's like, what's with these oohs? They're separating these sections.
I'm guessing the author just didn't know how to use the line breaks. That, or it's like symbolizing like the bubbles that the mermaids would leave. I don't know.
SpongeBob scene transitions.
Oh my god, you're right, it is the SpongeBob scene transition!
Madison was swimming towards Atlantis as fast as she could. The Blue Mermaid had just reached the palace gates when Vita and Chip came swimming out.
There you are.
Vita said in an aggravated tone.
Father's working up one of his moods again. He thought you were going to be late. Where were you, Maddie?
The younger princess shifted uncomfortably. Madison had no idea what to tell Vita. She loved her sister, and she had never outright lied to her before. Madison had always chosen the times of her trips to the surface carefully, so Vita would not miss her. But how could she anger Vita by telling her about the human world she loved? Madison was saved by Chip. The Yellow Merman's gaze had fallen on the bag. The trio kept their treasures in.
Hey V, I think Maddie found a new wreck. Get anything good, Maddie?
He asked eagerly. Madison was grateful to Chip for thinking of this for her.
No, I didn't.
She looked away from her sister and friend, hating to lie to them. The elder princess leaned toward the Blue Mermaid and seized her wrist.
Come on, we still have to get ready.
Vita threw a glance at her yellow friend.
See you later, Chip.
She said as she and Madison started toward the gates again. Before Madison knew it, she was back in she and Vita's bedroom, letting Vita style her hair. Vita Vita expertly brushed Madison's hair up into a smooth bun, being unusually quiet. When she had moved to do her own hair, she spoke.
You weren't really at a wreck, were you?
Madison should have known her sister would know of her deceit.
No. V, I know you won't understand that I...
The future queens of Atlantis were interrupted by their father's advisor, Toby. Girls, let's get this show on the road. The kingdom is here and ready to see you. The curly-haired merman put a hand on each of the girls' shoulders and began to lead them into their father's throne room. As they swam, Vita gave Madison a look that clearly said they were going to talk later. There were 2 enormous seashells waiting in the throne room for the girls, one pink and one blue. The two princesses waited obediently behind their designated shell, and as they waited, they heard the crowd begin to assemble. Toby introduced King Daggeron, who gave a speech about the fine queens Atlantis would have to lead it when he was gone. He went on to say that he cherished his daughters and then gave the cue for the princesses to appear to their people. Madison and Vita were warmly applauded by their subjects. They smiled politely before being whisked off to the party Toby had so meticulously planned. Let's see, so meticulously planned. Pardon me, I had to answer something in the Discord. Even as Madison enjoyed the celebration, she knew that King Daggeron was extremely angry with her. He's part anglerfish, okay?
He turned into geometry.
She knew that King Daggeron was extremely angry with her. The king was using his calm voice, carefully pronouncing each syllable. The blue princess knew that this voice, when used, stated an argument was on the way. In this case, it would be as soon as the birthday party ended. And she was correct. As the last few guests left the palace to return home, the king of Atlantis turned to look sternly at his youngest daughter.
Madison, I am very disappointed in you.
Madison had only heard her father be so grave once before, when he was explaining what had happened to the queen so many years before. The blue mermaid hung her head, her face full of shame. Vita was still in the palace's ballroom. True, the king had a point. Maddie had almost missed their important day. But she was not going to let her father talk to her sister in such a way.
Father, Madison does not deserve to be spoken to in that matter. She did nothing wrong.
The pink princess placed a hand on her sister's shoulder and glared at Daggeron. The merman gripped his trident and it began to glow with unreleased energy once again.
She should have been here. It was important that I spend time with my daughters today, the day they became formally recognized by the kingdom. But my Madison, my youngest, my calm, reliable Madison, was off doing God's know what, and very nearly missed the ceremony. Where were you, Madison?
Where were you, Madison?
I said
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, he said it.
What the hell? My internet sucks. The youngest
Funny
mermaid.
enough, I thought I heard "Where were we," Madison.
The youngest mermaid had been dreading this. She could not lie to her father, and Vita had already seen through the story about a shipwreck. Madison stuttered, avoiding Daggeron's intense brown gaze. She glanced at Vita, but her sister's arms were crossed over her chest, and Madison realized she had to come out with it.
You will not understand, and you will be so angry, father.
The Mermaid King made a grunting noise, indicating that he was not pleased by his daughters beating around the bush, to use a human phrase.
Tell me, child.
I enjoy visits to the surface.
Daggeron looked shocked, and then outraged.
After everything I have told you, Madison, you disobey my laws? Have you no respect for me? For your mother? Do you not realize that those who walk on land murdered the queen? They are intolerant of those who differ from themselves in the slightest.
The king aimed his trident at a statue of an ancestor and released a bolt of golden light. The statue crumbled.
Father? Daddy?
Madison swam closer to her father, her brown eyes pleading.
Daddy, they are not all like those who killed Mother. I have a human friend. He is gentle and kind. He would never hurt me. He tells me about how their world works, and it's because of Xander that I know humans are not so different from us. They have a royal family, just like we do, and...
King Daggeron shook his head angrily.
I will not allow a child of mine to disobey my laws. You are forbidden from ever returning to the surface world, Madison.
Well, I guess the story's over. Final thoughts, everyone?
Well, that sure sounded like the Little Mermaid.
It's so far not that deviating. I assume.
I said second half.
I know. I'm very afraid for what that second half will entail. Also, about those oohs, like I feel like they're not that consistent.
I'm admittedly just been kind of ignoring them. I'm just mentally swapping them out for the traditional line breaks.
Part of me just wants to like fucking scream ooh every time they show up.
Part of me thinks that
Actually, no. Never mind. I have an idea. I have a soundboard. Might as well use it.
Ooh, woo.
Oh gosh.
Oh, are you gonna put the SpongeBob singing
Yes.
transition sound?
Yes.
Alright, would be funny if they just stopped using that kind of line break for chapter 3 onward.
Oh my god.
Okay, just give me a moment for my vocal cords to recuperate.
Yeah. There's a lot of narration. Are you okay?
Yeah,
I'm not-
you also don't like sound at like peak right now.
When do I sound peak? Right around when?
I mean, you just don't. You're like taking longer pauses between sentences than normal.
I already went for a walk. I didn't drink any soda today. Like, I should be fine.
Sounds like you should be at peak.
Is that the end of chapter 2, or is it still?
That we finished chapter 2.
Yeah, that's chapter 2.
I'm not used to these chapters being so short.
They're tiny.
Honestly, I'm kind of glad.
Yeah, but there's like what, like 19 of them?
19, yes.
Yeah.
It'd be really funny if they just got longer and longer. And 19 was the length of a one shot.
I heard that.
I heard part of it.
Wait, that bubble sound?
Yeah.
I thought that was from the game.
Yeah, I got it. I got it now.
Okay. This is why vocal exercises before we do story time are important. She sells seashells by the seashore. Unique New York, unique New York, unique New York.
One smart
Okay.
fella.
Okay, I'm about as good as I'll ever be. Alright, this is chapter 3. Madison turned away from her father and made her way back through the palace. When she reached her bedroom, the Blue Princess threw herself on top of her bed and hid her face in her pillow. She was being a child, she knew. Father had a good reason to keep her and Vita from the surface. He only wanted to protect his young daughters, wanted them to be able to grow and change and have futures. But at the same time, Madison couldn't help but wonder why he would take something so important to her away. Being close to the human world was what Madison loved, and the king hadn't even listened to what his daughter had to say. The Blue Mermaid lifted her face from her pillow and reached for her childhood toy, a light blue seahorse. Madison squeezed the animal to her, trying to find some comfort. She would never see Xander again. What would he think if she had stopped? What would he think if she stopped coming to see him? Madison continued to lie there, upset with her father. As she continued to... Pardon?
I'm sorry. That was accidental. I accidentally pressed one of my hotkeys.
Well, I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, I don't think I heard anything.
Oh, I did the Pizza Tower parry sound.
Well, I didn't hear it. So, Madison continued to lie there, upset with her father. As she continued to lie there, an idea came to her. What was that?
I'm messing with stuff. Sorry.
An idea came to her. She was a princess. One day she would have to do things for herself. She would have to make her own decisions, and she would not have to follow her father's strict rules. She may as well start today. Madison smiled to herself as she straightened up. She dried her tears and then swam over to her vanity. The Blue Mermaid was feeling rebellious as she primped. She didn't care what the king or anyone else said. Princess Madison was about to become her own person. No bubble transition? Okay. Above the surface, Prince Nicholas of Briar Woods stood on the deck of the royal family ship. He had finally snagged a moment to himself, away from the sons and daughters of the noble families. This was not how he would choose to spend his birthday, even if he had a choice. The prince glared up at the statue, his parents had presented him with. It was finely crafted of white marble, and depicted him in a heroic pose, his sword drawn. Nicholas, or Nick as he preferred, snorted at the work. It had been overdone, exaggerated. He was not a hero. How could he be a hero when no one would ever let him prove himself? Was he ever allowed to train with the knights? Had he been allowed to go with his father to aid Silver Hills and Marin in their fight against Trubia? Had he ever gone to another country to help negotiate peace? No. Prince Nicholas, the precious heir to the throne of Briar Woods, was to be kept safe in a boring palace. Sometimes Nick hated his life. He ached for freedom, to be able to see the world for himself. He wanted to be able to fight for the good of his country. He wanted to be able to share stories and be accepted by his people as a ruler who would be able to keep them protected from any threat. Here he was, 17 years old, a grown man, and he had never been out of Briarwood's borders. Everyone else had freedom, but he did not. Even the young Prince Sky of Silver Hills had been out of his country, and he was only a child. The waters were rough as the ship continued its progress up the coast. The young ladies looked nervous as the the young ladies looked nervous as the yacht rocked slightly, and so did several of the gentlemen. Nick would gladly welcome some sort of adventure at the moment. He silently hoped the ship would capsize. Maybe it would get rid of the horrid statue. Briarwood's queen, Udana, joined her son. My dear, why are you not with our esteemed... Holy shit. My dear, why are you not with our esteemed guests? They are here to celebrate with you on a special occasion. Udana placed a hand on Nick's shoulder. Something troubles you, my son. Do you wish to speak to me? Nick was silent for a moment before meeting his mother's gaze.
Wait, that's... I didn't hear anything about it being me. Sorry.
I think it was like a footnote at the end of roll assignments.
When one ear and out the other. Where's the line?
Mother, the only thing.
That's my line. Okay. Jesus. Mother, the only thing that bothers me is something that you and Father and I have discussed many times. Even though I'm a man today, it does not appear that you or Father will change your minds in the near future. As for why I'm alone, I'm tired. Petty gossip that the ladies circulate bores me, and the men only talk of how to increase their own wealth and influence.
Udana smiled fondly at her only child. Bowen, she said in a quiet tone as she maneuvered the prince to face her. Nick scowled at his mother's use of his childhood nickname. Bowen, you will be a great king someday. There will be time for you to fight, if need be. Your priorities are not priorities are not in line.
I am not certain of which priorities you speak of.
Nicholas, you should be among your peers. They will be necessary allies to you one day when you are king. The young men are your contacts and advisors, and one of these ladies will one day be your queen. It would make me happy to see you join your friends. The queen's deep green eyes locked on her son, and Nick shuffled off. In Atlantis, King Daggeron was feeling badly about shouting at his youngest daughter. He would have to stick to his laws, but he could at least apologize for speaking so harshly. Madison was his daughter, and he loved her. The king set off to see the Blue Princess at once. As the King of Atlantis made his way to the palace, he rehearsed what he would say. He had nearly perfected his speech when Vita exited she and Madison's bedchamber.
Father, do you know where Madison is?
This question caught Daggeron off guard.
I thought she had gone to bed. You mean she's not in your bedroom?
Daggeron gripped his trident angrily.
I cannot believe. No, she's better behaved than that. She can't have left. Madison's my calm, logical daughter. She will be here somewhere. Vita, go see if she went to visit Chip. I will ask the guards if they saw her leave.
But Vita had a feeling that her twin was not going to be found within the palace gates. She also knew Maddie hadn't gone to see Chip. No, Vita had a feeling Maddie was gone.
That was a really short bit, but okay.
The Blue Mermaid had just reached the surface when her father discovered she was not to be found. She could tell he knew. The surface of the ocean was rough and choppy, a sure sign that King Daggeron was angry. Madison sighed. When she did get home, there would be a high price to pay for sneaking out. But as she reached her favorite rock, Maddie found that she really did not care. She did not really care what was waiting for her back at the palace. For the moment, she was free. The very thought of this freedom made the Blue Princess laugh. She slid off her perch back into the waters, frolicking in the warm shadows not far from the shore. She wondered if Xander would come and then decided he probably would not. He had mentioned a prince and a party. This fact reminded the little mermaid of the ship she had seen earlier and the covered statue on its deck. She wondered if the prince had liked his gift and if she might be able to see it. In the distance, the royal family's yacht was having a hard time. The captain was trying to keep the ship steady, but the storm that was now raging made it difficult. King Daggeron's anger was proving to be lethal to the innocent humans. Madison saw this from her rock and went to investigate. Her father's rage might cost the humans their lives. He was just as bad as they were, if he could kill the unsuspecting humans as they had murdered the queen. The younger mermaid princess went to the humans' aid as fast as she could. As far as the Blue Mermaid could tell, the humans were all safe and sound. Though there were many finely dressed young ladies who were clutching each other and shrieking hysterically. On the deck, Prince Nick was searching for his mother. He found her with the King of Briar Woods, Leanbow. The future ruler smiled, knowing of his parents' safety. The ship continued to tip back and forth, the rocking stronger. As Nick continued his stroll on the yacht to make sure his guests were unharmed, he noticed that the horrid statue was close to falling in the treacherous ocean. Oh my! In the treacherous ocean. He would not have cared that his birthday gift was going to be lost to the sea, had he not seen it. What is the background noise?
Is it me? Is my mic playing up?
I'm hearing something like fiddling in the background.
Could be me moving about. Sorry.
He would not have cared that his birthday gift was going to be lost to the sea, had he not seen an older servant trying to pull it back onto the deck. Nick ran to the servant and forced a rope tied to the statue out of the older man's hands.
Just let go. You're more important.
He smiled kindly at the older man before releasing the rope. With a tremendous splash, the statue of Nick fell overboard. The impact sent a huge wave crashing over the yacht. There were screams from the ladies as the force of the wave swept Prince Nicholas right off the ship. And so ends Chapter 3. Before we move on, I would just like to say I appreciate the little, I guess you call them mythology gags that the author had in this chapter.
The little what?
Can everyone hear me?
Like,
Yeah.
The little what you were saying?
Mythology gags, like the other kingdoms that Nick alluded to, those are just names of towns in other Power Rangers seasons.
Oh, good. So it's more than just character replacement. I can appreciate that at least.
Hold on, wait. They mentioned other cities from other seasons? I must have missed.
Silver Hills is Silver Hills from Power Rangers Time Force. Marin is Mariner Bay from Lightspeed Rescue.
Did
Oh,
you
Trubia.
already know
Trubia
those?
refers to the Trubian Empire from the SPD.
Yeah, I don't remember those being names in when I watched it, but then again, it's fucking Power Rangers.
And weirdly enough, Sky is said to be from Silver Hills, even though he's from SPD, not Time Force. Like, I think they're going off of that one fan theory that the Red Time Force Ranger was Sky's father, but I think that's been disproven at this point.
Hmm.
Okay.
Well, you can't fault a fanfic that's what 15 years old.
No, just a funny. Pardon?
Sorry, were you waiting for a line for me? I got pulled out.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't waiting for any line for you. I was just.
We were
clearing my
just
throat.
talking.
Yeah, we haven't started chapter 4 yet.
Oh, okay, I thought you were starting. No.
No,
No,
just
not yet.
stalling for time because my throat hurts.
The mid-chapter conversation.
I think
Or-
it's a good way to like reassess ourselves.
Hey, it works.
Like we're not even an hour in yet.
Felt like
Yeah.
it's felt like an hour.
We'll probably call it a day after like chapter 5. So yeah, I guess we'll get right back to it. Actually, let me get some water. Okay. This is chapter 4 of The Little Mermaid. A flash of red caught Madison's eye as a huge wave crashed on the opposite side of the ship. She knew no human could survive being tossed around like that. She dove, swimming under the royal yacht at a swift speed. When Madison broke the surface again, she still hadn't found the human the ocean had claimed for its own. By now, he was surely running out of breath, and the Blue Mermaid took to her element once more, knowing she had an innocent life on her hands. Pardon me.
Hey, Rayman. How are we gonna get to the doctors?
Under the crashing waves, Nick was fighting to get above the water. He was out of air, and he knew if he didn't get his head out soon, goodness gracious. And he knew if he didn't get his head out soon, he was surely going to die. The prince racked his brain furiously. He was a good swimmer, normally, but it was different in the luxurious castle pool. There were no waves fighting over who got to drown him. Finally, it came to him that he should swim parallel to the shore, rather than struggle towards it. The only problem was he could hardly tell up from down in the confusion of all the water crashing around him. Nick felt the last of his air supply slip from his lungs, and everything went black.
I'll stop the bubble transitions.
But they were funny.
Goodbye, SpongeBob bubble transitions.
If you really want me to do them, I'll keep doing them.
It provided flavor.
Okay.
Daggeron called an emergency meeting of the castle's guards. He told them everything Can anyone hear my dogs fighting in the background?
I do not.
Okay,
I think
good.
occasionally I hear like a single bark, but it's not frequent.
Okay. He told them everything he knew of his youngest daughter's sudden disappearance. The guards vowed to find the missing princess. King Daggeron split the guards into smaller parties and assigned them different areas of the kingdom to search. The palace guards proudly saluted before going off on their journeys. Vita watched as her father sank back into his throne. She knew he was regretting the way he'd spoken to Madison. The rebellious Pink Mermaid was glad her father felt this remorse. Maybe now he would learn to control his outbursts. But she went to his side anyway.
Maddie will be home when she feels ready, father. I cannot blame her for being angry and wanting the space to clear her head.
The elder princess The elder princess gave Daggeron's shoulder a reassuring squeeze.
Oh wait, I couldn't tell that was my line. My line. Day when Madison comes home, you will be an adult and discuss the problem rationally and maturely.
The king of Atlantis looked up at Vita.
Madison broke the law, Vita. There can be no discussion. Furthermore, she acted like a child today by running from her problems. She will have a punishment, princess or not.
The pink mermaid shook her head in disbelief.
So I'm trying to look. My sister, your daughter is going to be punished like a common criminal. Is no wonder Madison ran away. You're going to become a tyrant father if you're not careful of your temper.
The elder of the two princesses. Oh my gosh. The elder of the two princesses folded her arms across her chest as she glared at King Daggeron.
I'm going to see Chip. He and I will find Madison. If we do not find her tonight, I will not return until we do. I bid you good night.
Vita swam out of the throne room effortlessly. The king watched his older daughter with narrowed eyes. When she was gone, he slumped against his magnificent throne, wondering how he had alienated his daughter so thoroughly in such a short space of time. So depressing. Bubbles.
Bubbles. Yeah, this does make this more fun.
Oh gosh, I'm thinking, imagine Triton blowing up Ariel's grotto and then it just cuts with the bubbles.
Oh my god.
You're there when the time cards imagined.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite get that. What'd you say?
Like the time cards, 10 minutes later, with the French narrator.
Oh gosh. Anyway, Madison was distraught. She still hadn't found a missing person, and she felt terrible. She wanted nothing more than to return the man to his family safe and sound. The sad and blue princess was going to abandon her search when she happened to see something out of the corner of her eye. Madison saw something red slowly sinking into the depths of the ocean. Alliteration. Maddie's heart rate doubled when she realized the red was the clothing the man had been wearing. With speed to rival a hunting shark, Princess Madison went to Prince Nick's aid. The little mermaid wrapped her arms around his torso and swam upwards with him. He did not open his eyes, which worried Maddie. She hoped he would show more signs of life once they broke the surface. Madison and the unidentified boy she had saved reached the face of the ocean. Maddie frowned as she towed the rescued boy over to the beach. As gently as she could, Maddie laid the man down on the warm sand. She tried to keep her tail in the water so as to not get sick from lack of oxygen. If she couldn't save herself, it would have been a waste of time and effort to save this human. He lay quite still on the shore. The blue mermaid knew from her time with Xander that the human's chest moved as they inhaled and exhaled. She wished she knew what to do to help this man breathe again. Absent-mindedly, Madison cupped his face in her hand, thinking. Then a fairly obvious solution occurred to the youngest princess. Xander had explained once that humans used organs called lungs to hold and distribute oxygen throughout their bodies. It was similar enough to the way mer people functioned that Madison had understood perfectly. This man had water in his lungs. No wonder he wasn't breathing. Xander had told her how to save a human from drowning. All she had to do was press on his chest until he released the water. He was still completely motionless on the sandy beach. Madison had a feeling if she did not act immediately, he was not going to open his eyes again. Careful to keep as much of her tail in the ocean as possible, Madison placed her hands in the center of the man's chest. She pressed down on the spot firmly. Madison repeated the process until the boy coughed out the water he had breathed in. Pleased with this event, Madison began to sing a joyous song often performed at celebrations. She had a lovely, clear singing voice. Though being shy, she rarely used it in front of anyone else. It was Madison's voice that Nick heard as he woke. He could lay there forever on the warm beach listening to this voice sing. He wondered how he had gotten there, how he had gotten here. The last thing Nick remembered was being in the ocean. He supposed whoever was singing to him was the one who had rescued him. The Prince of Briar Woods opened his hazel eyes. Nick had expected to see a familiar face as his rescuer. It was quite a surprise to him to see a pretty girl he couldn't recall ever seeing before. As soon as Madison saw that he had opened his eyes, she stopped singing. He had a very handsome face, one that was enhanced by his hazel eyes. For a moment, both human and mermaid kept their gazes locked on each other. Madison wanted to speak to him, to let him know that no harm had come to him. But the usual shyness she felt with strangers was severely hurt. But the usual... Pardon?
No, I'm just helping.
I couldn't hear. What did you say?
I said hindering, like the word you got stuck on.
Yeah, but the usual shyness she felt with strangers was severely hindering her ability to think coherently. Nick could not think of anything to say either. He was captivated by this newcomer. The prince was certain he had never seen this girl before, for he would remember the prince was certain he had never seen this girl before, for he would remember the perfect oval shape of her face, her dough-brown eyes, the double curve of her lips. The young royal blinked a few times before attempting to sit up. Madison reached out and touched his shoulder.
I think you should lie down.
She suggested in a soft tone. The concern in her eyes matched her voice, and Nick obeyed at once. As he lay down, he smiled up at his savior.
God, this is the worst time. Sorry, I can't. Can someone step in for me for a bit?
I am most grateful to you. I am most grateful to you. I apologize. I do not believe I know your name. I am Prince Nicholas, but you may call me Nick. And you, my lady? Madison had not expected... I could say Nick some stuff perfectly, but the rest is... Madison had not expected to learn that this boy was the prince of the humans' kingdom. She tried to say something, but words escaped her. The Blue Princess smiled back and shook her head.
Stay here. Rest.
That's a very beautiful name. She saw the prince frown, but he closed his eyes. As soon as Madison was sure that he would not look, she worked her way back into the water. There was nothing for her to do now but try to find Xander. He would help her and the prince. But before Maddie could find the ship the prince had been on, she was startled by two familiar faces. Chip and Vita were some 30 yards from the shore, bobbing slightly as the waves moved. Chip's expression looked a little disappointed, but Vita's was furious. Her arms were folded over her chest tightly, and her mouth was twisted into a ferocious grimace. As the youngest mermaid joined her peers, she had her argument ready. She was an adult. She had her own decisions to make. Maddie had her points well thought out, but there was no need for this mental preparation. The first words out of Vita's mouth made Maddie forget everything she was about to say. I guess Ed still needs some time. How could you? Did someone say something?
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, I guess he does, but
Okay.
it didn't quite come out all the way.
How could you do this, Maddie? How could you turn your back on Father and me? On our mother? On our way of life?
V.
But the pink mermaid snapped. I do not want to hear your excuses. I have stood up to Father for you, but I will not do so again. If you return to this human world, you lose both of us. And
You
that is
know,
the end of...
that big moment of I'm not saying a goddamn thing, I realize that's just gonna be the rest of the story for me after a certain point.
Oh, there's other roles I can assign it to.
True.
Yeah, there's at least one other role I could assign you, but I just didn't do it yet. Because the character doesn't show up till like the second half.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to take those.
Alright, I can just let you narrate the second half. That'd be funny.
Oh, that would be funny.
Okay. And you good, buddy?
Doesn't seem like it.
Well, yeah, Nick's prominent in this chapter, so I guess I take over. Oh gosh. Okay. Harry, how do I sound? How's my mic quality?
You sound about the same as always, so take that for what you will.
Alright then.
I have returned.
Alright, welcome back. We were just holding off until we could start chapter 5. This is last chapter for today because I think I'm a little worn out.
It's like double length, triple or double.
It's also 2 AM, so probably best.
Not here, Harry.
Yeah, isn't it like was like 8 o'clock or something for you?
It's 8 for me.
It is 9 for me.
Time zones are fun.
I know, right?
Jeez.
Alright. Chapter 5, and then we can all go to sleep.
Well, Harry can. I'm gonna keep gaming.
Nick opened his eyes, expecting to see that beautiful girl still hovering over him. He wished she would sing again. But when Nick did not see her, he was puzzled. He sat up, brushing sand from his hair. Nick looked down the beach, wondering how she had disappeared so quickly. Maybe he had dreamed he had seen a girl. Maybe it was just a trick his mind had played on him. He had almost died today. This delusion of a beautiful young woman must have been some strange act of Holy crap. This delusion of a beautiful young woman must have been some strange act of his subconscious to deal with the stress of nearly drowning. He had to get home and into bed. He knew his mother would be beside herself with joy that he was relatively unharmed, and Nick preferred to get this reunion over with quickly. Nick stood up, stretching. The prince took a few steps back towards the village so that he could go home. His clothes were waterlogged, making it difficult to move. Nick pulled off his tunic and wrung out the excess water. The absence of his shirt made it easier to maneuver, and he was able to walk faster. He set off up the cobbled path towards the castle. As Nick reached the dock, the yacht was being anchored in the port. He could hear his father organizing a rescue party from where he stood. Nick hid a smile at his father's efficiency. He did not think it was a good idea for his father to continue with his current plan, so the prince moved into plain sight and held his right arm above his head. He waved and caught King Leanbow's gaze.
Call off the rescue mission, father.
Nick called as the king grinned. The prince watched as his father turned to Queen Udana. The red-headed queen was off the yacht in an instant, her arms folding around her only child. My son, I am glad to know you are safe. Bowen, my child. I was so certain I had lost you. Udana locked her gaze with her son, trying to be stern. Do not do such a thing. Do not do such a thing again, Bowen. I am very upset. Nick had been paying very little attention to his mother's spiel until this statement. At his mother's previous words, something the prince tried to keep to himself snapped.
Mother, today I saved a man's life. Surely you're not angered with me for such an act.
Nick frowned at his mother. King Leanbow joined his wife and son, touching the prince's shoulder in warning. Come, my dear family. Our carriage is prepared to take us to the castle. Udana, my love, we will discuss today's events with Nicholas in our private quarters tomorrow. The king looked at his son, who smiled gratefully. Tonight, Nicholas will change into warm, dry clothes and get some rest. As was usual, Udana did not argue when she was weary. Or wary, rather. Weary. She marched off to the street where the carriage was and got inside. For now, Nicholas, things are settled. Let us go home. Let us go home. Leanbow followed his wife, and after a moment, so did Nick. Mazin trailed along after Vita and Chip, trying to find the words to explain just how much he had come to love the human world. The Blue Mermaid just could not understand why Vita would give her such a horrid ultimatum. No matter what Maddie chose to do, someone would be hurt.
Vita!
She heard Chip murmur.
You're being very harsh on your sister. You're hurting her by forcing Maddie to choose what she wants. You and Maddie are sisters. Just support one another.
Madison's heart surged hopefully at the little speech Chip had given on her behalf. If there was anyone in the ocean who could talk sense into V, it was the Yellow Mermaid. The hopeful bubble that had swelled in the Little Mermaid's heart popped as Vita snarled a reply. M. M.
What's that
Oh
sound?
my god, my mic was turned up the whole time. Sorry. So there's like a switch on my headphones, so I had it off. Whatever. There should not have to be a choice. Mass is a mermaid, a princess no less. She should not pine after that human boy up at the shore. She
was dying.
Madison's words came quietly but firmly.
What should I have done, Vita? He is the humans' prince. He has a future ahead of him. Who am I to let him die when I knew I could help?
Vita did not respond to her twin, but rather swam faster back towards the golden gates of the kingdom's edge. Chip watched his friend sadly for a moment before stopping so Madison could catch up to him.
She'll come around.
Chip said encouragingly before frowning.
I hope she will anyway.
Madison nodded in agreement before something else caught her eye. Just outside the gates of Atlantis lay a white marble statue. She moved towards the treasure without even thinking about her actions. Out of the corner of her eye, Madison saw Chip follow her. It was a statue of the prince that Xander had told her about. Now that she had an image of the prince to compare the work with, Madison could tell the sculptor was a gifted artist. The sculpture of Prince Nicholas was beautiful, a perfect copy of his face. Absently, I think they might say absent-mindedly, Madison touched the statue's face. She had hardly spoken to him, but somehow seeing this replica of the prince brought a strange sense of longing over the Blue Princess.
A treasure.
Chip said in an excited tone.
The king must have sunk up another ship, did he, Manny?
The Blue Princess... I'm sorry, did you say something? Alright, the Blue Princess shook her dark head. Her eyes still focused on the marble.
It's the prince's birthday as well. This was his gift. When he was thrown off the boat, this came with him.
She studied Prince Nicholas's birthday gift thoughtfully.
I wish I could return it to him.
The red-headed mermaid placed a hand on Madison's shoulder gently.
It grows late.
Chip noted after a moment of silence.
You and your family have much to discuss. Happy birthday, Manny.
Thank you.
Madison left Chip at the kingdom gates to return to the palace, her heart sinking steadily.
Wait, is it my bit?
I guess no bubbles anymore, okay.
Oh wait, that's what it was, sorry.
The exhausted Prince of Briar Woods changed into his bedclothes as soon as he reached his bedchamber. The crimson sheets on his The crimson sheets on his luxurious bed were already turned down, and in the small fireplace across from his bed, a roaring fire crackled. Nick got into his bed, staring up at the ceiling. He had had quite a long day, one that took its toll. First, he had nearly drowned. Then he had delusions of a beautiful girl. His mother was angry at him, and he had an appointment in the private dining hall to look forward to early the next morning. It had been an exciting, memorable birthday, Nick mused, but not in a good way. The playback for this is going to be trash. As the prince continued to wait for sleep, it seemed he could not get the illusion out of his mind. The face he had imagined was such a beautiful one, with deep brown eyes and skin that looks like satin. That's an odd description, but okay. She had silky hair the color of a raven, and the sound of her voice. His little delusion seemed to have far too many details. Maybe he had not imagined this after all. But why had she vanished?
Perhaps she is shy.
Nick thought, as if determined to find some justification of her flight.
Perhaps she went to fetch a doctor.
The possibilities turned themselves over in his mind. He might never know. But just as sleep started to come over the weary Prince of Briar Woods, plan presented itself to Nick. Tomorrow he would visit the beach. He would go until he saw her again, and he would learn her secret. King Daggeron waited for Madison in the entrance of the Atlantean Palace. He was angry, as Madison had known he would be. The Triton gripped in his hand was glowing brightly. At first, Madison kept her gaze lowered as she swam towards her frightening father. But as the little mermaid moved, an important realization came to her. She wanted the freedom to go to the human world. She wanted to maintain her friendship with Xander. She wanted to watch for the prince. She would stand up for herself. She was Princess Madison, future queen of Atlantis. There were certain rights and privileges she was surely entitled to. It was time for timid little Maddie to show she could have a voice, an opinion.
Madison Elizabeth.
Daggeron nearly growled.
Where have you been? I was worried sick, Madison. You have broken the law yet again. Off to look for some human boy. I thought you were responsible, dependable. I thought I could count on you. I thought with you, Atlantis would be in capable hands. It is clear you are not to be trusted.
The contempt on the King Merman's face was hurtful towards Maddie. The Blue Princess felt tears sting at her eyes. She blinked them back, reminding herself of her oath to be strong.
I do not care. I am recognized by our laws to be an adult. It pains me, but if necessary, I can leave.
Madison squared her shoulders. She attempted to arrange her features to look like Vita's when she was in a fight.
You will do no such thing from now on, Toby will be with you at all times.
King Daggeron turned his back on his youngest daughter.
I bid you good night.
And I bid all of you the end of Chapter 5. Okay.
It was, I guess, a bit more interesting than I thought it would be.
I mean, what would you think it would be?
A lot more lazily written, I guess. Something with, like, when you pitched to me a story but reenacted by characters from other stuff, like, it makes me imagine it being, like, not that... Not... It makes me imagine it not having much effort.
I mean, even one-to-one adaptation takes efforts to be good. Like, I've seen enough film remakes in my life to know that, yeah, actually recreating something and making it good is hard.
Right.
Which is something, dude.
I guess we are doing this in celebration of a remake, aren't we?
Celebration.
Celebration, yes. So, aside from my narration, just, I guess, good job, everyone. I think the performances were good. And I know you're still kind of new to this, but
I'm not as sick as I was last time, so I can actually,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you passed it on to me, though. Thanks. My throat's dry.
Through voice chat, I'm passing sickness.
We've passed around worse things before. Cough, cough, bad internet.
Oh yeah.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I've read through these set of chapters like how many times in my life now? And probably like a fourth time at this point. But yeah, still entertaining. The chapters in general are shorter than I remember them being. I guess. Like, I don't know. Maybe just read a lot of long fan fiction, but
Yeah.
it's kind of surreal. Oh, well, I'm not complaining. Yeah, I don't have much to say. I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying revisiting the story so far. There's definitely more fun stuff to come. So
Maybe I should go back and try to find some old fan fiction I've read.
That'd be cool. I'm down.
it can be an enlightening experience. So
It's like
yeah, that's all.
I certainly remember going back and going into like fanfiction.net to desperately find crossovers of like the niches I'm into.
Oh
That was
yeah,
in
same.
like in circa 2015.
So yeah, that's all I got. So everyone else good?
Yeah.
Any like particular characters
Nice.
you enjoyed?
I can't wait to stop reading.
You know what? I can't wait for the end.
Oh god.
Yes. All right. I guess those are your favorite characters. Well, since it's late, I guess we'll just sign off now. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Nova, for showing up on short notice.
Till next time.
Yep. Yeah, okay. Yeah, see you guys later.
Bye.